Hey there, storytellers, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, as promised, is going to be my 5x5 review of The Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. Now, I have talked about this book a few times already on this channel. I'm a big fan of it, which is why I decided I was going to go ahead and review it for you guys. But just to give you a little background, this is technically the fourth book in the Truly Devious series, or rather the Stevie Bell series, if you want to think of it that way. But it is technically a standalone, so you don't necessarily have to have read the first three books, the Truly Devious trilogy, in order to understand this mystery. This is one that takes place at a summer camp in sort of the present day, and it's told in dual timelines. So the crime that gets Stevie there in the first place takes place in the 70s, so you get part of what happens back in the past as well, which is a trademark of the Truly Devious novels. The first three books all take place at a boarding school called Ellingham Academy, and it follows a cold case that Stevie aims to solve, and by the end of the third book we get some answers, one would hope. But this takes place all on its own at a summer camp called Camp Wonderfalls, and Stevie and her friends sort of reunite over the summer to solve this case as well. Now, this one is unique in the sense that it follows a totally different sort of crime. The past three Truly Devious novels, like I said, are all centered around the one overarching crime that Stevie is trying to solve, and this one follows something kind of crazy. It gives you all these fun summer camp vibes, but also with those like creepy slasher movie vibes that you get from like old school Halloween movies, you know, like Halloween or Friday the 13th or I Know What You Did Last Summer, you know, all those ones where like it's kind of silly and kind of dumb in some ways, and I mean that in the best way. Like, just some of the stuff they do is so like, it's so just stupid, because you're just like, of course you're sitting there watching the girl go into the house and you're going, turn around, stupid, turn around. That's what it's like, but it's so much fun, and I cannot wait to talk about it more for you guys. So that's what we're gonna get into here in just a moment. I'll set her down so you can see her in the background. And for those of you who are new to my channel and haven't seen me do one of these videos before, I'm going to be telling you 5 things I enjoyed about it and 5 things that I didn't. And without any further ado, let's get into that. I should mention that when I do this, there's not really a particular order in which I wrote down my likes and dislikes. It's just what stood out to me, what I thought about first. And so I guess in that sense, there is kind of an order, because if I thought about it first, then I really disliked it, I guess. But at any rate, let's get into that. And I think I'm going to start with my dislikes. I kind of like that. I did it last time, and I kind of appreciate starting with the negative and then ending on a positive. So that's what we're gonna do again. So dislike number 1, I need to start by saying that I like them together as a couple, but Stevie and Damien's relationship, communication, needs some serious work. They are both kind of strong-willed, strong-headed. They kind of are both used to doing what they want for different reasons, and it doesn't necessarily always work, especially because Stevie has anxiety and she gets in her own head when she's trying to communicate emotions with people, which is what you need to do in a relationship to make it work. So there's moments where it was very realistic, so I get it. But it was frustrating because it's something that stands out in the sense that they're going along fine, and then she just hears something he has to say and she gets anxious about it and then stops communicating with him altogether, and it causes a bigger problem than it could have been if she just said, well, I'm upset to hear that for XYZ reason, and instead she just shuts down. Like I said, it's really very realistic given how well she describes Stevie's anxiety, but it's frustrating as heck. I'm not gonna lie. Dislike number 2. So it would have spoiled our big reveal probably, but I wanted more of it anyway, and that is the dual timeline. I legitimately got this book in the mail. I picked it up and was flipping through the first pages. I was just gonna give it a little peruse. I was just gonna sort of get familiar with my new book, keep reading what I was already reading, and then read this one. But I kid you not, I was hooked on the first chapter. The first chapter kicks off in that past timeline in the 70s, and I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it's getting wild right off the bat. I need to know. I need to keep reading. I need to know. And I just, like I said, it would have probably spoiled the end reveal, but I wanted it. I wanted more of that timeline because I was so hooked on it. Dislike number 3, tagging on to dislike number 2, the reveal. I suspected who it was pretty early on, and that doesn't mean I didn't have a couple suspects lined up. What kind of detective would I be if I didn't have my wheels turning on a few different fronts? But pretty early on, I suspected who it was going to be, and I think if you pay attention to the story, it will stand out in a way. But, and I'm not going to say why, because that will ruin it for you if you haven't read it yet, but if you pay attention, you probably won't miss who it is. But dislike number 3, the why of what they did, the reasoning behind who did it and why, it was insane. I don't think that there were enough, if any, clues that I can remember that would have pointed me towards the why. So how Stevie got there was a little bit mind-blowing, especially because given our reveal moment, I thought it was a fake out. I thought she was trying to like corner somebody by pretending she had some information that she didn't actually have, but then she did for real have it, and it was wild. I would not have put that together, I don't think, ever. I'll have to reread this at some point to see if there's like any kind of tidbit earlier on, but I don't think there was. So like I said, I don't think we could have gotten more of that dual timeline, even though I wanted it, because it would have revealed the who and this crazy why much sooner. And I don't think there was any way to do the why and keep it mysterious without doing it, without the way she did it was the only way I think it could be done. But oh my god, I kind of just it kind of frustrates me. Like, I appreciate the nuance that went into the who, you know what I mean? There were clues planted, and I liked that looking back I could reflect and go, okay, yep, I see where I had already kind of had the thread picked up a little bit, and now I'm seeing where I could have missed it and continued picking it up and putting it together. But it frustrates me a little bit that there was no real way to plant those clues as to the why, which made it kind of not, I mean, I didn't hate it, but it wasn't as satisfying for me to know that like I could reread it and find those spots that I missed it. Like I said, I'll have to go back and try, but it's a little frustrating to not be able to go back and go, this is the clue I missed. This is what would have told me that this was why that this person did this. But I digress. Dislike number 3 is that I don't love the fact that the ending comes a little out of left field. Dislike number 4, I dislike the character Carson. He's the current camp owner, and he buys the camp because of the mystery, because he wants to do a podcast about it, and he wants to get Stevie because she's developed a bit of a reputation at this point in her sleuthing career, and so he brings her in to do this podcast, to at least try to solve the crime, to do the podcast, make it interesting. And I just don't like him. And you're not supposed to. He's meant to be a very annoying, kind of just tone deaf character. But it was too good. I really didn't like him that much. I do not think he added much to this story other than he helps get Stevie to the camp, but I feel like somebody else could have done that at some point. Dislike number 5, and this one is a bit of a stretch, and it may just be me misinterpreting some of the stuff I read in the story, but the guilty party seemed to suspect where to find a crucial bit of information. Like, I think they knew sort of what they were looking for and had a vague sense of where to find it, but not a clear sense. And the fact that they didn't try to find this piece of evidence that they knew was just out there floating around, that would have blown everything wide open much sooner, without, like, the fact that they didn't try to find it much sooner to protect themselves, this is a little bit frustrating. It seems like it would have been something you would look for if you knew it was out there somewhere and you knew it had information that would expose you. I guess it eliminates an exciting moment in the story if that were to happen, but I don't know, just a little pet peeve. I felt like you would have, if you were a guilty party in a crime, you would probably try to gather up all the evidence against you to make sure you couldn't get convicted. But that's just me. That's just me. Maybe you wouldn't. I don't know. All right. Moving on to the likes, because they are far easier for me to talk about than the dislikes. Like number 1, I really very much appreciate that Stevie deals with imposter syndrome, despite the fact that she's developed this sleuthin' reputation around cold cases due to the Ellingham case. And to me, it could be very easy to get a big ego if you were to be part of solving, or the only one really solving, a cold case from decades ago where so much of the evidence is gone or hidden or so minute that most people would miss it. I think a lot of people could very easily get a big head in that situation, and I appreciated the fact that because Stevie deals with anxiety and because she's someone who just wants to be so sure that she's right that she'll second guess herself, she deals with imposter syndrome. She feels like, everybody's saying I'm a great detective. I don't know if I'm a great detective, guys. I don't feel like that's me. And I just thought it was a really realistic grounding element to her character to not have her get sort of flying off the handle with her ego. I appreciated that she's pretty grounded. She has her moments where she's a little bit inconsiderate or out there or just sort of self-centered, but she's a teenager too, so we all had those moments to a degree, and I think it humanizes her. Like number 2, I really appreciated seeing surviving family members of the Box in the Woods crime interacting with Stevie. In the first few books, Stevie is solving a cold case. The people involved with it are gone. Like I said, a lot of the evidence is gone. There's not much for her to go on, and there's not a ton of human interaction with the people surrounding that original case that can affect her. She can look at it in a very clinical, detached way because they're not alive. She doesn't have to deal with them. That being said, there is stuff in those first 3 books that she does have to deal with in real time that causes emotional distress for her, but again, she sort of steps back and gets clinical about it because she doesn't have to deal with surviving members. She doesn't have to deal with the emotional fallout of things happening to other people. And in this one, she has to deal with those people. They're there. They're surviving family members. There's the kids that were murdered, and then there's their family. And their family still has a lot of opinions, a lot of pain, a lot of trauma that has not been put away. And to deal with that is a lot for anyone, especially a teenager who isn't actually a professional detective, who's just somebody trying to hone their skills because they want to be a professional detective and help people. So to see Stevie grapple with having to react to people being upset with her for prying into it, or people not wanting to talk to her for prying into it, all of those things is really, I thought it was well done. I thought the fact that she had to walk the line between pushing them enough to get her information while being respectful enough to not upset them so much that they'll never talk to her ever again. It's a very fine line to walk, and I thought it was good to see Stevie struggle with that dichotomy. Like number 3, like I said, Stevie has her selfish moments because she's a human teenager, and she has her moments where she takes her friends for granted, because don't we all? But I also really like that overall Stevie knows the value of her friends. She knows what they're worth, and she's not afraid to say it. Throughout the entire series, Stevie relies on her friends in a lot of ways to help her solve these cases. They all have varying levels of talent and expertise in a wide range of subject matter. So when she needs an outside perspective, they're there for her to bounce her thoughts off of. When she needs to know how this particular thing would look because it's a crafty thing and she's not crafty, she can ask her friend Janelle. If she needs to sort of pick apart the psyche of people a little bit, she can turn to her friend Nate, because he's a writer and he likes to pick apart people's brains for fun. You know, he gets inside characters' heads. And David has tons of connections as well as an outsider's perspective on things, and I really appreciate that she doesn't ever hesitate to tell them of their value and to thank them and to give them credit where credit is due. Like I said, she has her moments where she kind of slips up and is selfish or puts them in danger, or, you know, kind of forgets they're there and doesn't necessarily acknowledge them in the moment, but at the end of the day, she's always willing to thank them and give them credit, and I appreciate that. Like number 4, I really appreciate that this was a standalone. Don't get me wrong, I love the first 3. They are so much fun. I've been very excited each time they came out. Once I discovered the first one and read it, I was hooked. So this is no different. Her writing style and the characters are what drew me into the first ones so much, and it's there. It delivers. I'll tell you that right now, it delivers. But I really appreciated that this was a standalone, contained little mystery. It makes it perfect for rereading. You don't have to commit to rereading a whole series. You can just reread one little unit, but it's also perfect for summer. Maybe it's just me, but I don't like to be involved in huge series a lot during the summer. I like things that challenge me and get me thinking and make me want to pick it up more. You know, it's things that have fast pace that I'm drawn to, but I also don't want that in a series. It's frustrating for me. I have talked about my challenges around reading series quite extensively. Maybe I'll do a whole video on it if you're interested in that. Let me know down in the comments. I'll consider it. But I appreciated that this was a standalone because I could just pour myself into it and know that by the end of this book, things were going to get wrapped up and I could set it aside and just let it be after that. And that has a certain appeal. And last but not least, like number 5, I loved the summer camp setting. I cannot tell you enough how much I appreciated it. The woods can be creepy on their own, right? But then add to the fact that these are known murder woods, heightens that creep factor right there. Summer camps, I mean, they get put in horror movies for a reason, guys. They're kind of creepy, right? They can be kind of messed up, and they have tons of legends and stories and all that kind of nonsense that comes with it that adds to just the lore of summer camp. Is creepy, plus creepy murder woods. It's all kinds of just insane. And like I said, the dual timeline, the stuff set in the 70s just gave me the best campy horror vibes. I absolutely loved it. And because the entire thing is set at the camp, it's not just sort of Stevie solving it from afar or Stevie, going. It's all very contained. It's a small town, a small summer camp. Everybody knows each other. It's all contained, and it just adds to that campy creep factor that is so unique to certain horror movies that I appreciate, which is why I appreciated this one as well. I can rave about it all day long. I absolutely love it. Love the summer camp creep vibes. Just Mwah, beautiful. Exactly what I needed this time of year. But that is it for this video. That is it from a 5x5 review of The Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. Have you read this book? What are your thoughts on it? Let me know down in the comments below. Are you interested in reading it? If you haven't, let me know that as well. But for now, if you want to keep up with me and all of my bookish adventures, you can go ahead and click the subscribe button, and I absolutely highly recommend that you ring the little bell so that you don't miss a beat, because next week I'm going to be posting my admittedly very short but still somewhat productive Camp NaNoWriMo vlog that I did in July, or at least attempted to do for you guys. It's kind of a short camp vlog plus writing updates chat. You'll see. Check that out. Subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss it next week. It'll notify you right away. I post videos every Friday, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!